Hello, welcome to FilmCrunch. I'm Neil Estep.
I'm Veronica Santiago, and our first theatrical of the day is the movie The Queen, which completes our attempt to actually cover all the 2007 Academy Award nominated pictures for Best Picture. As a reminder, those movies are Babel, The Departed, Letters from Iwo Jima, Little Miss Sunshine, and The Queen. Okay, I got them all.
Beautiful.
This movie stars Helen Mirren and Martin Sheen and is directed by Stephen Frears, who is the director for one of my favorite pictures of all time, which is not one of yours that you mentioned, but that would be Dangerous Liaisons. That's the one that you forgot to mention.
Oh, yes.
You can go ahead and mention the one you like, which I hate.
High Fidelity.
High Fidelity.
And The Grifters.
I never
saw
The Grifters, so...
Oh, it's great.
I've heard it's good, but anyway, Stephen Frears, director for all those movies. The movie was also written by Peter Morgan, who coincidentally also wrote the screenplay for Neil's favorite movie from last year. Go ahead and say that.
Last King of Scotland!
This movie is based around the events surrounding Princess Diana's death back in 1997. This focuses on the reaction by the royal family to her death, or I probably should say the lack of reaction from the family. This unfortunately puts the newly elected Prime Minister, Tony Blair, in an awkward position, and he is forced to encourage the Queen Elizabeth II to set aside protocol and make an attempt to acknowledge the people's feelings about the people's princess. So, Neil, what did you think about this movie?
What did I think? Well, you know, going in, you know it's going to be something really good. Obviously, it's nominated for Best Picture, so
there's got to be something there.
It's got to be right. There's got to be something there. And knowing that Helen Mirren won a BAFTA award recently, as well as the movie winning
Golden Globes,
Golden Globe,
SAG Award,
and the nominations,
everything you can think of.
Certainly. So you know it's going to be great. But this movie really was a quality film, and I think that when it started, I realized it was going to be sort of a quiet, conversational piece that's, more humanized, more focused on, obviously, the royal family, Tony Blair, and just really, just focused character study that, seems like it's very rare with Hollywood films, and this, of course, isn't a Hollywood film per se, but, I really... the whole thing was it was so well put together, and I think that the director Stephen Frears, he's very good at films where there's a lot of conversation. Like I said, I love High Fidelity, and even though you weren't very fond of it, and you have your reasons, I'm sure, it does focus on just human interaction and just life in general and the ups and downs of events. And I think this was a perfect real life event for Stephen Frears to take on. And I can't say enough about the acting, for sure. I mean, Helen Mirren.
Amazing. The weird thing is, from frame one, I believed that she was Queen Elizabeth. I mean, literally, I think it was frame one. She was doing some portrait, and it just gave me chills.
Absolutely.
She was just amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. And we should mention that this movie is not a true story necessarily. It's about the events regarding Princess Diana's death, but it incorporates real-life footage, very much like Death of a President did, which you did not see, but it incorporates real-life footage, but then the rest of it is dramatized. And Stephen Frears does not like, from what I've heard, he doesn't like calling this a docudrama, because docudramas are based on real-life action, talking to people and getting the real stories and then recreating it, where in this particular movie, he had to just kind of guess. He didn't honestly know what was happening with regard to the royal family, so he just kind of made up his own story. Not to say that none of us would actually believe that this wasn't true,
no.
Because we probably do believe that it was very much like that, what happened. But I thought it was very interesting, because it was kind of like the West Wing for the royal...
right, for the Brits.
For the Brits.
Yeah.
Though they weren't in Buckingham Palace at the time. I forgot where, Balmoral, I think, they were their vacation home. But it was interesting to watch everything behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
And, kind of imagine what was happening at the time. Because, and it's weird 10 years later, because I do remember when Princess Diana died. I don't know if you remember that
certainly.
or not at all. And I remember all the controversy. But I think 10 years later, to go back and watch it again, it's just interesting. It's like, wow, I can't imagine today the lack of reaction coming from whatever party or who,
Totally.
Can you imagine just complete
No.
silence for like a week with regard to such a high profile death? I can't imagine any government
And I
doing
actually,
the same thing.
I don't remember it being such. I mean, I was 15 when she died, but I don't. And I remember it obviously being a tragedy on a national level, but also a very personal tragedy for people on a global level, even. But I did not remember such a strange reaction from the royal family, and I thought that's why it was sort of new for me to see all this.
Yeah.
But Peter Morgan, the screenwriter, I did read that although he didn't get to interview members of the royal family and things like that, he did interview people
who worked,
were connected.
But at the same time, they didn't know what the literal conversations
Right.
were.
So you had to fill in some
exactly.
holes.
He had to guess what was being said. But
Right.
it is interesting to watch again the movie 10 years later and think, could this even happen today? And also, at the time we watched the movie, Anna Nicole Smith had just died, and that was kind of weird to me too. The whole media aspect of it and how sensationalized, the death had become. Not to say in Anna Nicole's case, the media caused her death, or not to say that they necessarily caused it in Princess Diana's death either. But it's just weird to see how much time is spent on, this celebrity,
Absolutely.
so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that's always bothered me, and I'm wondering if you might have an opinion on this, but I've always wondered who today, if they were to die, would receive just as much coverage as Princess Diana. Not including any sitting president, mind you. But can you think of anyone today who would receive as much coverage? I remember when John died, John F. Kennedy Jr. died, there was a decent amount of coverage, but I don't know that there would be anyone as popular as Princess Diana who would get 24/7 coverage.
I'm trying to think
Songs
of
anyone
remade for her, and
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't
books
think.
dedicated to her.
I've always wondered that. Something I've always thought
Probably
about.
Neil.
Neil,
Yeah,
you think
I am
so?
quite an altruist.
You
I
think
think
so?
that people would really,
Sadly,
pour out for
the
me.
only thing I could think of was Oprah.
Yeah, Oprah would be huge.
I think it would be huge.
Certainly.
Huge, and especially it depends on how she died as well. But as long as it's some type of untimely death, I think that she would get just as much coverage as Princess Diana.
Certainly, and I wouldn't put it. I believe that our president, President Bush, would probably come out and make a statement about Oprah's death, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that he's
And I'm
got
sure
enough
Tony
common
Blair
sense.
would come out,
I'm sure, yeah.
Or Desmond Tutu or someone,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this film, there was the pivotal scene, the pivotal moment where, Helen Mirren's, the Queen Elizabeth's car breaks down in the middle of nowhere. I mean, that scene, one of the most powerful scenes I have seen in a film in a really long time, where this woman who is all about power and is all about nobility and is all about tradition, who finds herself helpless and, is just sort of feeling all the pressure coming down on her finally after the pressure from Tony Blair, the pressure from various media, the pressure from the people in the UK, and when she sees that buck, that her family members, the two young princes and Prince Charles are out stalking, trying to kill, and she sees that buck, and I think right there, it was so beautiful to see her sympathize with a creature that was so innocent, and at that moment it seemed like she pushed aside all of the ill will between the royal family and Princess Diana. And oh my God, it was just such a beautiful, beautiful moment. And then later on, she seeks out to go see the dead buck, and oh God, that was so powerful.
It was a great moment, but it is sad to say that didn't happen. And Stephen Frears has said that moment did not happen. He completely created that moment.
But I mean,
but he believes that something similar like that could have happened, and that was within her.
Well, more likely what happened was the scenes where, like, there's a press conference on TV and they're just talking, or like when Tony Blair's calling the Queen and then they're all upset that the tea is cold, like, oh, the tea's gone cold.
Yeah.
But it's like, Princess Diana died. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It's so great.
No. But it was
great.
Yeah, it really was chilling to see like the news coverage of all the flowers that were laid out in front of Buckingham Palace. But again, going back to, I don't know who today would get the same amount of coverage.
No, you're
like
right.
That. It was. I don't remember how old I was.
Flavor
I was
Flav.
older than 15, sadly. So I remember that day a lot better than you.
Yes, you
But, damn it, I'm not that old. But no, it's a very, very interesting movie. And again, even though it is fictionalized, I think you could still learn a lot from this film, and
Totally.
it does bring you back to that moment. And I don't know about the audience you saw it with. The people I saw it with were a bit older than I was. You know, they're probably in their 40s and 50s. I actually heard people crying.
Did you really?
Yeah, I heard people
Wow.
crying in the movie when
That's
she
incredible.
Yeah, I think it was the scene where the like servants in the Buckingham Palace were all watching the news coverage and they were tearing up, and that's the exact same time the people in
Wow.
the theater were tearing up.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Well,
It
that's
was
how
kind of a cool
powerful.
moment.
That's how powerful this event was. Like I said, globally, and then this film just seems to drum it all back up again. I mean, that's really, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Nothing like that happened. I saw it really early in the morning, I think, on a Sunday or some weird random time. So there were some people,
But that's when the early bird specials.
Oh, yeah.
out.
That's true.
I
That's
think that's
true.
when I saw it.
all the
But
seniors, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just my theater, I guess. But no, very, very good movie. Highly recommended.
Totally recommended.
Okay.
A lot of phlegm there.